I'm BrianVee, and this is Why We Work. Today, I have the great pleasure of speaking with Mr. DiNapoli, who is a tribute artist to Elvis Presley. You know, I saw this man, and I wondered, how could you do this? How could you give 40 years of your life paying tribute to someone who has passed? If you don't know Elvis, he was a great. But Gene has taken it upon himself to carry on the work that Elvis has done. And I want to find out what his motivation is, how he has kept a company, Lightning Entertainment, for 40 years doing what he loves to do. So join me in this conversation with Gene DiNapoli. I'm BrianVee, and this is Why We Work. Today, I have the great pleasure of speaking with Gene DiNapoli. Good day, fine sir.
Hello, good evening, Brian. How are you?
I'm doing really well. I'm so glad that you would do this with me and for me. I stumbled across you and some of your work, and I'm like, I sat back and I laughed. I was like, this guy is working. That was my first thought. And I thought, I need to figure out who this is. And all I saw was your work, and I didn't see you behind the camera. I didn't see you doing some of your interviews at that point. I just saw you working as in what you do. But then I started to research you. You're a really interesting person. So if you would do me the pleasure of just introducing yourself or talking a little bit about what it is you do, and then we'll travel down memory lane.
Sure. Well, my name's Gene DiNapoli. I'm a 54-year-old Italian boy from the Bronx, New York. And this past May, I just celebrated my 40th year in show business. I was a
Congratulations.
singer for over 30 years, 35 years, and then I broke into the acting game. And we've been doing that for the past couple of years, mixing it up. And I want to thank you for thinking of me for this wonderful podcast.
Well, you're I don't know if you're the hardest working man in showbiz, but you're working pretty hard, and I truly appreciate it. Gene, when did it all begin? Take us back to your very first job. Maybe, I mean, I talked to a few Americans, me being Canadian, and the average age is about 14, 15, 16 of getting a job. Did you have something similar, or what is it that got you out of the house to go make some money?
Well, it started earlier than that for me. My parents, of course, gave me an allowance, but it was never enough to buy ice cream and records. And
Yeah.
so I decided at like 8 years old, I was going to make my own money. So
Nice.
the first thing I did was I sold candy door to door. And the funny part about it is when I look back now of some of the places I went to, I could have gotten kidnapped at 8 years old because I worked for this company and they would drop you off at an apartment building and you'd go door to door, floor to floor. And, but back in 1972
Uh-huh.
and three,
Yeah.
we didn't think about stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then when that panned out, I started to deliver newspapers in my area. And I went to work at a butcher store, cleaning the butcher blocks of all the blood and guts of all the animals. I worked in a bakery, sweeping the seeds up off the floor, all the while practicing singing Elvis Presley in my bedroom since I was about 6.
From
So I,
6.
yeah, I became an Elvis fan at 5 years old. And I guess I knew at 5 or 6 I wanted to be an entertainer. So for many years, I was in my bedroom upstairs, and I would practice in front of a mirror with a broom around my neck, and I would imitate Elvis. Uh, and that went on for about 6 years until I first walked on stage at 14 years old. And then my stepfather looked at my mother and said, "That's what he's doing upstairs for the past couple of years. He's been practicing." So I've always worked.
Was there, so you mentioned your stepfather, your mom, were they these jobs that you had, whether in the butcher shop or delivering and candy stuff, were they pushing you to get out, or was it just you wanting something for yourself that you couldn't afford?
Uh, well, my mother, of course, said it was great to have drive and to work for what you want.
Yeah.
My stepfather came into my life when I was, I think, 12
Okay.
or 13.
Mm-hmm.
So between my mother and my father,
Yeah.
I realized that if you want things in life, you have to make it happen for yourself. And, you know, my mother, she was a working mom. On the weekend, she worked in a restaurant as a co-check girl and a hostess. My dad was a gambler. So there were sometimes lean weeks and sometimes good weeks. But my father used to give me $10 a week, $5 when I started working. But it would cost me money to take a cab to go to the record store. And back then, records were like $1.50 or $1.98.
Mm-hmm.
And I wouldn't go for one, I'd go for 4 and 5. So, and comic books too, comics. I was a big comic collector. So, you know, in order to have hobbies, you had to work. You know, your parents gave you the food, the clothing, and the roof over your head. If you wanted more than that, you had to go to work. So I started early. I liked money, and it continued.
So along the way, so obviously at 14, you're on stage. What were you thinking in terms of your future, even at that age, of maybe school or not school, or how did you see your path being tracked out for you?
Well, unfortunately, I thought I was going to be a star. And I thought uh, doing my Elvis act was going to make me a star. But at that time, I didn't realize there was already an Elvis Presley. So what I should have done was I should have stayed in school, went to college,
Mm-hmm.
picked up a trade, uh, but I continued singing. And although I never became a star, I've had a very good life. And I met beautiful people. I met my beautiful wife because of entertaining. So I have no regrets
Mm-hmm.
in that sense of the word.
Mm-hmm.
But at 54 years old, now I realize I should have got a pension, you know. So now I'm playing catch up at a later age, but I'm still young at heart. And, you know, we all have different paths. Everybody's job is essential at some point in life, or else it wouldn't be a job. So I took that path. I don't regret it. I just wish I could have added to it.
I was just listening to you a moment ago. You're singing "My Way."
Yeah.
I've had some regrets.
Yes. Yeah.
To name a few. When did you start your business then? So from 14 on the stage, when did you start Lightning Entertainment?
I think it was the next year when I was 15. Yeah, when I was 15, uh, I happened to rent the back room of a restaurant, and I said to the guy, "Okay, I'm gonna do a show, and I'm gonna buy the meals from you. How much do you want?" He says, "I want $12 a dish." So I went and charged $25, and I
Mm-hmm.
sold tickets. So the first show I did was a small restaurant. We had 100 people. So I made like $1,200 at 15
At
years old.
15.
And I said, okay, this is good. This is good. So I learned what is called four-walling, which is where you go and produce your own shows. Because as a singer, I was making $30 to $50 a show. So if I could do my own shows, I realized that's where the money was.
So what did it look like for you leading up to around now of, a typical year? What did it look like for you to stay active, stay busy? How was it getting the gigs? How difficult was that being? You're from New York, so did you stay in the area or did you even venture out a little bit further?
Well, we ventured out further. We did gigs in Virginia and DC and North and South Carolina. We even went as far as West Virginia once. and it worked out because I was a novelty. I was a young kid doing an Elvis act. So it was kind of cute. And I was lucky. My voice matured at a young age. So I was able to sing and sound older. Uh, and I did it for a while. Of course, I was still in school. So I did it on the weekends. And back then in 80, in 81, 82, 83, there was a lot of nightclubs, a lot of restaurants. So the work was there. It was there. But I always had a job during the week. Christmas tree. I sold Christmas trees on during Christmas. I sold fireworks for 4th of July. I was always an entrepreneur. And it worked out, thank God, more times than not. But there was some bad investments. There was some lean times. So there was good and bad. But I kept going. And then I found my niche. My niche was promoting and producing shows. So I did that a couple of times a year, and I made a good dollar. And then when the internet opened up, it really exploded because people in Jersey and Connecticut and Pennsylvania could see what I did, and then I would go work there.
When you met your wife, what did she think of your aspirations? And then, and then, I mean, I have a dear wife, and I have aspirations, and they don't always line up.
Okay, so when I met my wife, I was in a depression because I had just lost my father. So I had grown a beard, and I gained a ton of weight, and my hair was long, and my niece was born Thanksgiving week. And the night before Thanksgiving, I told my mother I was going to be a career bachelor because I went dateless for 18 months and I just had a lot of things going on. And my mother said, "What's that?" I said, "Well, I'm going to go out with older women for money." And my mother goes, "Oh, you're an ass." Well, at the same time, my wife was telling her mother that she was going to be a career woman. So the night after Thanksgiving, I went out with my brother for a drink to celebrate my niece's being born. And my wife walked into a bar where I owned a karaoke DJ company. So I had people working for me. I had 5 or 6 people working for me. So I was making $1,500, $2,000 a week sitting home because I was still depressed about losing my dad. And when my wife walked in, she went to her girlfriend who knew me, and she said, "Who's that guy up there?" And she goes, "Oh, that's DiNapoli. He's a local entertainer." So my wife already knew about me. So my wife, I spoke to this girl at the bar, and she was standing at a part of the bar where she had to move in order for the guys to get to the bathroom. So I said, "Excuse me, I'd like to get by." She said, "Well, you got to give me $5. I said, "$5 for what?" She goes, "Well, I'm not moving again." I said, "Well, I'm not going to give you $5. I'm going to go to the bathroom. I'm going to buy you a drink when I come out." So I come out. Now, she knew I sang. I didn't know she knew. So she goes, "Do you sing?" I said, "No, I don't." Because I didn't want to sing. I was still very depressed. Right? She goes, "Too bad, because if you sang me a song, I'd go out to dinner with you." So I walk up to the girl that worked for me. Yeah, my wife picked me up. So I go to the girl that worked for me and I said, "Put in this song that I've been trying to work on." And I sang September Morn by Neil Diamond. So my wife walks up to me and
my
she
mom's
hands me
favorite.
her phone. Is it really?
Yeah.
Really? So my wife hands me her phone number and says, "How did you know?" "How do I know what?" She goes, "I was born in September." I said, "Really?" So my wife and I met on a Friday and we dated every day, and I proposed the following Saturday. I proposed 8 days after meeting my wife.
Nice.
And we got married 50 weeks later. So when I walked down the aisle, I didn't know my wife a year yet. But you know, when you're 30 years old and she was 27, you go to dinner and you talk and you realize you both have the same likes, the same dislikes. You don't need to date for 5 years.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So now I asked my wife to marry me. And my wife is an educated girl. She's in finance. She's a businesswoman. And my career was going like this. So I says to her, listen, I said, I don't think we should get married. She goes, why not? I said, my life's a roller coaster. Sometimes I make 3,000 a week. Sometimes I make 300. I said, I'm an entertainer. I'm never going to get a real job again. My wife looks at me and she goes, I like roller coasters. So I said,
Buckle up, honey.
yeah. I said, if you don't like roller coasters, don't get on this ride. And this November, we celebrate 23 years of wedded bliss.
Congratulations.
So,
That's a great story.
and we never had a fight that I won. But my wife,
your whole story was gonna be washed to me if you said we never had a fight. Like, oh no.
yeah,
Oh, but
that I won.
that one I won.
Yeah. But you know, my wife, like my mother and my parents, my father, my stuff, my wife is behind me in no matter what I do, 150%. And that's the key to success in my book, because I've bought pizzerias, I've bought bars, I've bought laundromats, and some have worked out and some haven't. So when I go to my wife with an idea, she goes, look, I don't think you should, but if it makes you happy, go forward with it. And sometimes I do, and sometimes they work out. And sometimes I sleep on it. I go, all right, you know what? I'm not going to do that because no good could come out of it.
What you're doing, and I just realized with you saying with these other ideas that you have, you're working, right? Like you're doing your entertainment, but you're also working with these ideas of just, whether that's keeping the roof over the head or at least attempting or pitching in or helping out, but you're working too. So you have two frames of mind going at the same time.
Absolutely. I wish I could make a lot of money in what I do.
Yeah.
What I love to do is entertaining, but I'm not at that point yet. I mean, years ago, yes, it was great. I was a single guy, then I got married. But as you get older, you say, okay, I want to stop working at 70, 65. So now I'm working harder to make that money so I can retire and live a comfortable life. I like money. I like going out. I like buying nice things. I like to pick up a check for friends. When there's family around me, I don't like them to pay. I'd rather pay. It makes me happy. And you can't do that if you don't work. I didn't hit lotto yet, not independently wealthy. So you hit it on the head. I might not be the hardest working man, but I am the most steady in my area because I create my own work. I don't have a pension. I don't have a retirement. Other people do entertainment and they have day jobs or they have pensions. I know my money in my pocket is going to come from gigs and singing and acting. So I continue to do it while looking for other avenues to make money.
I think it's very important what you're saying, especially for my listeners, of understanding. And I think we both could agree that when we were younger, or younger people today are not always thinking you need something to keep going, right? However much the scale is of how much you like to buy nice things, you need things, right?
Right.
You need some income. And when I was younger, I don't think I appreciated that enough. Probably having, family to help with a roof and paying rent or food is always there, and we take it for granted a little bit. But as we get older and more responsibilities fall on our own plate, then we're realizing that, if I don't get up today and do something, that is going to affect other people in my life. And that's not what I want to do. So I think what you're saying is good to speak to people that are younger, or even people who like you and I. Like I've had bouts of depression in my life. if someone came up to you and said, Gene, you got to go to work, back off. Right?
Well,
You know.
yeah, but if you think about it as a rational person,
Mm-hmm.
you do need something. You need a trade, an education, or luck. And the venue I took takes a lot of luck,
Yeah.
which is why I delved into other things in my life. But, I remember I was about 15 or 16. I was going to the movies with a girl, and I was in between paychecks. And I said to my father, Dad, can I borrow $20 because I'm in the middle of paychecks? And my father said, learn how to budget. I don't pay for hobbies. And I looked at him and I said, dating is a hobby? He goes, yup. He said, food, clothing, Con Edison, and rent are necessities. Pets, cars, going out and enjoying yourself are hobbies. So make up your mind what you want to do. And the same way I say everybody has a choice, well, a person that has a regular job and only makes 40,000 a year cannot afford a $750 bottle of wine at dinner. They can afford a $5 or $20 bottle of wine. Right. So according to your tastes and how you want to live your life is the career you need, to the education you need, which leads to a job that will suffice your style of living. So you have to think about what you want 20 years down the line. Do you want to drive and I'm not saying anything's wrong with Toyota.
Yeah.
Do you want to drive a Toyota or a Hyundai or a Mercedes? Do you want to go to Florida on vacation or Italy and Greece and Spain? Do you want to wear T-shirts every day or Robert Graham, $99 dress shirts? So, and this all happens with your upbringing as well.
Yep.
Because your parents have to say, listen, it's nice that you're working in a supermarket bagging groceries, but if you want to have a better car, maybe you should learn how to be a manager of a grocery store instead of a bagger. And you got to go to school. And so it's your parents' job to educate you that way, but it's your perseverance and what you want that's going to keep you on that path. Now, I myself would love to drive a Maserati or a Mercedes, but my lifestyle and my income doesn't warrant it. So you get the best car you can for your money, and you keep it in good shape, and you live your life.
Where I live here in South Korea, I see a lot of Maseratis, BMWs, but I don't think people are living within their means. So I think Mr. Repo Man might be coming for a lot of people. But you're right. Having people in your family, maybe directly or indirectly, friends giving you that advice, or even people like yourself, where people can hear this and just try to glean something from what other people who have traveled down this path know, whether through good experience or bad experience, whether we knew it when we first started or we're looking back 10, 20 years and saying, it's not a regret, but if I would have done this, then at least I would have been, it wouldn't.
Well, that we don't know what the future holds.
Yeah, certainly.
But if you do have a bad experience, the only thing you should do is learn from it. If you learn from something, it wasn't a bad experience. It was an experience. I've lost money in my life, and I would not sleep, and my wife would put her arm around me and say, we can make more money. It's only money. Yeah. We're healthy. We have loving family, friends. So you could always make money, and then you pay your debts and you pay people you owe or businesses, and you get out of it, and then you move on. But if you don't learn from your experiences, then you're the only fool. You're the only fool.
I've been foolish many a times. Gene, what is your repertoire that you're able to do? Is what you generally do? I know you are a tribute artist to Elvis. but also I know that you have some things that you're also comfortable singing and doing. What are some of those before we get into maybe what you're doing nowadays?
Well, you know what, Brian, let me preface it with this, because people are going to see this, and hopefully my friends and family. I'm not a singer. I'm an entertainer.
Mhm.
And uh, I don't, I'm not a trained singer, but what my forte and what my gift is I could put over a song, uh, which some people consider a better talent than being a singer. Of course, doing Elvis for 40 years, I get a lot of pleasure from doing my Elvis show. But ever since I started singing my variety show, which changes
Mhm.
every show, because I look at the audience and I say, okay, they're 60 years old, they're going to like this. They're 80 years old, they're going to like this. I like the variety because I'm not pigeon-toed into only doing certain songs. Uh, I'd start off with a Sinatra song, and I look and I go, okay, they're only about 60 years old. They're going to like disco and 80s music. And I go into that. Um, they're 80 years old. They like doo-wop. I'm going to stick with that.
Mhm.
So to me, I could do 5 shows in a week, and they're all different. So that's what's exciting to me about my career now, where when I did only Elvis, yeah, I changed the songs around, but it's all Elvis,
Mm. Mhm.
you know. And although Elvis had a very big catalog, if you don't do Heartbreak Hotel, Love Me Tender, if you don't do certain songs in a show, oh,
Mhm.
you could cause a riot. Oh, you could cause bedlam.
And those
So
certain shows or certain songs in the show make up a whole show. So
yes,
if you're jumping off a little bit, you're throwing one overboard.
what I do in my show, we do a 90-minute show in the restaurants. I do about 30 songs. What I do is I do 15 that you have to do.
Yeah.
Oh, my Lord, you got to do these 15, 20. Then I do 5 or 6 that I want to do to make my show pleasurable to me.
Mhm. Mhm.
And then I always ask the audience what they want to hear. So my show changes every show because there's different customers. I know guys that know 25 songs and they do the same songs. All they do is change the order. Where my show, because I'm an Elvis fanatic, if somebody says, oh, do this gospel song I do the gospel song. And I might not do it better than anybody else,
Mhm.
but it gives my show,
Mhm.
for lack of a better word, originality,
Yeah.
instead of just the same 20 songs over and
Mhm.
over.
Gives it life.
It gives it life. And I have a guy that comes to see my show strictly to see what outfit I'm going to wear. Can you imagine that?
I saw you have many replica outfits of Elvis.
Yeah, I have about 35 uh, between the jumpsuits and the casual suits that he wore on stage. I can intertwine colors but this guy, every time he comes to see me, he looks at his wife and he goes, "That's different." So that's a pleasurable thing to know that I don't have just 3 outfits, wear
Mhm.
the same 3 or 4 outfits. It's a personal gratification to me when I wear something different and somebody appreciates it.
In terms of lyrics, are these, I mean, many of them would be memorized, but even things that we know on a regular basis, we stumble upon and kind of forget. Do you have those readily available, especially if someone's, yelling out a song from the audience?
When it comes to Elvis, uh, I think I know 99%
Hmm.
of the lyrics the way they were done.
Hmm.
Now, if I forget something, you will never know because I will do the mistake like it's the real thing. But when I do my variety show and somebody says, "Can you do Neil Diamond's I Am I Said?"
Hmm.
Or "Can you do Billy Joel's my life or honesty. I said, I'll do it for you, but I got to look up the lyrics because there's so many thousands of songs. There's no way if you take a request, you're guaranteed to know it. And I don't like to disappoint anybody. So I say, okay, what do you like? Okay, I'm going to read it off the iPad, but I'm going to do it with such emotion or such conviction that you're going to think I know the song.
So you'll do a song cold, never even heard it before?
No, I've heard it, never sung it.
But
like somebody asked me to do a Led Zeppelin song, not that Led Zeppelin's in my key, or let's take Billy Joel. Billy Joel has 20 albums. There might be a song on an album I never heard because it's not a big hit. And I'll say, well, why? Well, that was our wedding song. Okay, I'm going to try it.
Yeah.
I'll listen during the break. I'll listen to Billy Joel's version to get the melody. I'll type in the song and I'll say, okay, let's roll the dice. What's the worst that could happen? I never do it again. So we try it.
I'm sure you get this question a lot, but what is your favorite song of Elvis versus what is your favorite song to sing?
Okay, with Elvis, I have two favorite songs. One is My Way, because if you look at the lyrics of My Way, it was more tailored for Elvis Presley than Frank Sinatra, because Elvis Presley started a new kind of music. He mixed rhythm and blues and country and gospel. And rock and roll in 1955 was young. So nobody knew how it was going to be accepted. Sinatra did standards, which was already a form of music. So in terms of doing something original, excuse me, and rolling the dice, I feel that My Way was more apropos for Elvis and the original rock and rollers of the 50s, because they didn't know how rock and roll was going to be perceived. As for a fast song, I love Burning Love, because it showed at 37 years old, when Elvis was considered a has-been, he had a #2 record in the country. In the middle of the Rolling Stones, Kiss, Led Zeppelin, and here comes Elvis, a 37-year-old rock and roller with sideburns, and he goes to #2, which showed he could still rock, which was great for his career. As for the variety show, I always do the first song I ever sang at 14, which was not an Elvis song. It was a song by Engelbert Humperdinck called After the Lovin'. So I make a joke out of it that this was the first song I sang, and what did I know about After the Lovin' as a 14-year-old thing? I knew nothing. So I always do that. But one song that I love to do, because it's so recognizable, and it's from my hometown. A guy from, it's actually two guys. I love doing Bobby Darin's Splish Splash, because Bobby came from my area. And I love doing Run Around Sue by Dion, because as soon as you sing that opening line, here's my story, everybody goes crazy. You know, so they automatically start to dance. But depending on my mood, I have so many songs. But, you know, recently I've been ending my shows with America by Neil Diamond. And I preface it by saying, with all the unrest and all the problems in America, no matter what your nationality, religion, color, creed, we're still Americans and we're still human beings. So we should treat each other with kindness. And I always end with that recently. And I believe you're judged up there on how you treat people down here. So if only for a few minutes, if I could make 100 people get along to sing that song, then I've done my job.
I want to get into what you're doing now, just like a typical week now. But as you speak and speak about Elvis, are you, if you would for me, think about you from 14 to say 30, 40, And now your career, and you're saying Elvis developed into, you know, he was still able to get a #2 album out there, even in the midst of being a little older. Are you seeing that your career, because I heard you in an interview talk about your voice is getting stronger, you're feeling pretty good, better than you felt for a while. Are you able to see that you're maturing more into this role when you pay tribute to him? Or did you enjoy it when you were younger and maybe able to dance around a lot more easily?
Well, as a 54-year-old person, it definitely takes a toll on me because I put so much into my show. I backed out of it doing all Elvis for a couple of reasons. Number one, the work started to get less and less because so many guys buy jumpsuits and go out for $200 because they live at home with their parents or they have a job during the week. So where I was charging $800 for a show because it's my living, and I have 2 days a week to make my money, Friday and Saturday. Other guys were going out for $150, $200 and undercutting me. So what happened was about 14 years ago, I got sick with a reflux condition, which caused me 18 months of laryngitis. So I wound up not working for 18 months. I was on the verge of esophagus cancer. I needed a surgery that was not covered by insurance. So a bunch of friends of mine, they threw me a benefit in a local catering hall, and I was able to get the surgery, which turns out I had reflux for many years. So after the surgery, my voice got stronger. And when I got back into the Elvis, I saw my jobs were not as often. There was a time where I did 9 Elvis jobs in a weekend, 6 in one day. It started at 12 o'clock noon. I didn't come home till 12 o'clock midnight because I did 30 minutes at a wedding. I did 2 singing telegrams. So it just fell into place. And when I got sick, all these other guys started to get the work. When I got better, I said, wow, what am I going to do? I can't live on 2 gigs a month. So I started to do a Blues Brothers tribute. And then when that got a little old, I went to work in a restaurant and I thought I was going to do Elvis. So I brought my suit and I go set up in this restaurant and I had slacks and a shirt on and I walk up to the owner. I said, excuse me, where can I change? And he goes, you look fine. What do you need to change for? I said, well, I got to put my Elvis outfit on. And he says to me, I don't want you to do Elvis. I said, excuse me? He said, last month you came here for dinner and you got up and sang a Sinatra song. I want you to do Sinatra. And I walked away and I looked at my wife. I said, he doesn't want Elvis. What do I do? What do I do for 3 hours? And my wife says, every freaking song you know. So I sat at the table and I wrote out 3 sets. I wrote out a dinner music set. I wrote out an oldie set and then a disco set. And I said, okay, here's what we're going to do. And I picked the songs that I love to hear. So I figured if I love to hear these songs, maybe the 100 people in the restaurant will like them. So I did the night. The next day, I got 4 phone calls from different restaurants who said, is it true you did Sinatra and Bobby Darin and Barry White and Kate? Yes, I did. Wow, we got our own Elvis. Now that you're doing other stuff, we want to hire you once a month. And I said, what? So the variety show turned out to be my saving grace in order to keep my profession going without having to go get a regular job to supplement the income that I was losing. So I started doing these other restaurants, and then I got into the nursing home circuit, which during the day you go sing in a nursing home for an hour and they pay you. Because years ago I would do nursing homes for free because I didn't realize they had budgets. So I would go do Elvis for an hour just to do it for these
Mm-hmm,
people
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
in nursing homes and hospitals. But then I found out that hospitals and nursing homes have budgets.
They got some money.
So for 4 or 5 years, I go out 4, 5, 6, 7 times a week and do these shows in nursing homes and hospitals and senior centers, which was going to be the next phase of my life.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, with COVID, I can't go into nursing homes and hospitals. So in March 14th was the first day I ever stepped on stage, 1980. March 14th of this year was my last show before COVID. So I celebrated my 40th anniversary on a Saturday night, and Monday I was out of work.
Yeah, this year is devastating, I'm sure.
This is the Twilight Zone year. But it gave me a lot of time to reflect on what I wanted to do. I got into the acting about 4 years ago, and the first job I got was funny because they flew me to South America to be in a TV show called Kingpin, which was about the life of John Gotti,
Mm-hmm.
the gangster.
Mm-hmm.
So my first job, I got flown to South America. I was in a limo. I was in a 5-star hotel. And so after that, everything is downhill. But I've done some projects. I got involved in a political play, which once Broadway reopens, we're going to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I read some books on acting. I've done some classes. So although the COVID put a damper, it gave us time to explore other
Reassess, yeah.
avenues.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So hopefully when things reopen fully, I'll have a lot more avenues to do my craft and to earn my living.
I saw a monologue that you were doing online, and you surely have, I mean, you're from New York, so you definitely could play some of those roles, and you probably have a wide variety of talent in that, and as you develop it will increase as well. But you can certainly fit, in my view, which is doesn't amount to much, but in those like a gaudy film or a gangster, or like you just have, and it's not your personality, but you can easily slip into that, I'm sure.
Right. Well, being a New York Italian, it comes natural. But when I got into the acting, I said to this one guy, I don't act. He said, Gene, you're a Bronx guy. You're an Italian Bronx guy who makes a living doing Elvis. You're already acting. Even for that 5 minutes, yeah, when I start my show, I'm Elvis. The glasses, the hair. After the first 5 minutes, I become Gene DiNapoli doing a tribute. I don't say, when I recorded Hound Dog. No, I say when Elvis recorded Hound Dog, some people want to be Elvis. I never wanted to be Elvis. I was always happy in my life. I wanted to be an entertainer doing a show. So for the first 5 minutes, I come out, look, I look nothing like Elvis. The sideburns, the black hair, and the jumpsuit. But people go, oh my God, you look so much like Elvis with the all right. So for the first 5 minutes, there's a shock value, and there's, I'm so into it. But then when I become myself, that's when the entertainment part comes in. And I do my 150% to get people into my act. And it's the same thing with the acting. I do get gangster roles. I've gotten some cop roles, some detective roles, which is all well and good. I'm looking for that doctor role. I'm looking for that judge role. I'm looking for that dad role because I'm not a father. I never had children. And I want to know if I could pull it off, because that's where you know what you're worth. If you could do something totally out of your normalcy. So
I could see those. I could see all those roles, you fitting right into it. A doctor's uniform, a judge's gown. I could see those.
Well, I thank you, and hopefully there are some directors
and a father
out there.
too.
Well, you know, I'm a nurturing person. I love children. I love people. So hopefully somebody of director sorts or producer or agents sees this where you could say I could fit in that part.
Yeah.
But it is a hard sell to sell a director or a casting agent. Yes, I can play a lawyer when all they seen you do is street guys, gangster, and cops, captains, you know, figures of authority. It's hard for them to say, I don't know if you could do that.
Well, it's almost parallel to your entertaining with Elvis, that you were doing Elvis, but then you're like, hey, I can do this other stuff, and people didn't expect it from you.
It was murder trying to get people to see. I'm not a one-trick pony. You know, I do so many things now. I mean, I could do a cocktail hour, nothing but Sinatra and DiNapoli. I could do oldies, Blues Brothers, Elvis, Bobby Darin, classic disco, Lionel Richie, Billy. And like I said, I'm not a singer per se. I'm an entertainer. So if people are looking to get entertained, I'm their man. If you want a singer, there are better singers out there. But, you know, I once got a job doing Elvis for Vanessa Williams. You know who that is, right? Vanessa Williams. Yeah. Beautiful Vanessa Williams. And when I did her daughter's 5th birthday party, and it was an Elvis, it was an oldies theme. After the show, I said, excuse me, Miss Williams. And she goes, call me Vanessa, the lovely lady. I said, you obviously have unlimited funds. Why did you hire me when you could have hired an Elvis lookalike from Las Vegas? Flew him in. She says, you know, Gene, I spoke to 10 agencies, and they all said, he doesn't look just like Elvis, and he's not the greatest singer in the world, but there's not a better entertainer than Gene DiNapoli. And to me, that was the greatest compliment I could have gotten, because there are guys that sing great, but they can't hold your attention more than 3 songs. There are guys that look great, but after the initial look, you go, okay, yeah, he looks great, but he can't sing. So she wanted an entertainer for an hour. And I was lucky to get that job. And that was a very rewarding experience to me, which led to the variety show and now the acting, because people say, yeah, we don't want a singer. We want somebody who's going to entertain our guests for 3 hours, and you're the guy. So
you're doing it from the heart.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Everything I do is out of passion and love. You know, if I hit lotto tomorrow for untold millions, I would sing every weekend for free. I would still go to the nursing homes and the hospitals for free. Unfortunately, we need money to make the world go round, so I need to charge and I need to get paid for what I do. But if I had untold funds, I would do it 7 days a week for anybody that I wanted for free, because I love it. And whether I'm singing or acting or comedy, I'm very comedic on stage. People tell me I should do stand-up comedy, but I like to sit down, so that's another problem. You know, we're going to try to do other things. We have some projects in the work now that are going to be totally different than singing. I'm going to be hosting my own. I do my podcast, which is an interview show, but I also have a restaurant review show and a wine review show coming out where I'm the host, and I'll be going around the tri-state and across the country reviewing restaurants as a regular person. You know, they don't want food critics all the time. They want regular, average people like myself to review a restaurant and let people know this. And I think it's a great thing, especially now everybody needs promotion. They need to get the word out. So we start filming in 2 weeks. I'm going to be going to some local restaurants and doing an hour show on the restaurant, on the management, on the cooks. I'm going to go in the kitchen. I'm going to flip pizza up in the air. I'm not going to catch it. It's going to hit me in my face. And then we're going to cook, and we're going to eat, and then we're going to sing. And the show is called Shut Up and Eat with Gene DiNapoli.
That's great.
Yeah. So we got that. We got the wine show. We have a comedy show coming out on my ancestry, how my family was in all different scenarios in Italian and American history. Like my family hosted the first Thanksgiving dinner with the Indians. And instead of turkey, we made lasagna and meatballs and sausage. So we're going to be doing that. It's called The Wacky Genealogy of Gene DiNapoli. So we start, I know, right? Funny. So we're going to start filming that in 2 weeks. So from going from nothing every day, we're going to have a full schedule of work. And hopefully something hits and people like it and I get famous.
Your wife is surely not taking that seatbelt off.
No, but you know what? My wife is with me. When I do my shows, my wife runs all my music and my sound and my lights. And then when I do the big shows at the casinos, she's always on stage with me as my assistant. And as soon as I'm done with a show, I walk right over to her and I go, well, and my wife won't sugarcoat anything. And great show, but I think you should not leave that song out. Great night. So, you know, my wife is a double-edged sword. She gives me compliments and she also gives me criticisms. So
what is the most difficult? I mean, you surely got this question before, but what is most difficult about what you do, whether the stuff you're doing or about to do, or the 40 years of entertaining? What is most difficult or challenging?
the show is not the work. The work is getting the gigs and preparing. You know, when I quote a price to somebody and they go, for an hour? No, it's not for the hour. It's for 40 years of experience. It's for a $4,000 jumpsuit. It's for me dyeing. I'm gray. I've been gray for many years. I got to dye my hair, grow sideburns. So no, you're not paying for the 1 hour. You're paying for 3 hours of preparation. You're paying for the driving, the setting up. Right. The show is free. I'm doing the show for free. But getting the gig and selling yourself is the hardest part of this business.
It is ongoing and it never stops.
Never stops. You know, I'm very thankful that now with the internet we have referrals. Mm-hmm. So somebody, like I did a show Sunday and somebody put it on Facebook and I got 2 jobs by 2 of their followers seeing it. So social media in my business is great. In other forms of life, social media is a disaster because, you know, everybody became a reporter and a critic. But for a marketing tool, social media is wonderful. So now it's getting a little easier to get the work because people that you don't know are seeing what you do. And if they like what you do, they call you.
Yeah, it's for social media. They can find out about you before maybe going to the restaurant and watching you entertain. They can,
right,
and then they're like, "Yeah, this is the person that I want," and then they'll
right.
You
Yes, they could vet you. You know, they could investigate you. Look, when I used to get jobs as Elvis, I'd say, "Well, what are you looking for?" "Well, we're looking for a lookalike." I would say, "Listen, that's not me. I'm 5'7". I'm 200 pounds. I'm an Italian guy from the Bronx. I don't look like Elvis, but I'm a great entertainer." "Oh, we're looking for a lookalike." I said, "Go see this guy. This guy is tall and thin, and he's going to give you what you need." "Oh, well, we're looking for a singer entertainer." "That's me." So I knew where to sell myself, and I knew when to say, "Listen, it's not worth the aggravation of doing a job when you know you're not great for that job, because the repercussions are not good." Mm-hmm. You know, you could love Marilyn Monroe, iconic look, right? But if you're a brunette and you're curvy, let's say more curvy than Marilyn, and you show up at somebody's party and you're dressed in dungarees, you're curvy, and you have black hair, but you love Marilyn, are they supposed to pay you?
You won't last on the stage, yeah.
Right. What you do in your own house is fine. But when you go and you imitate or you tribute somebody, you should have the attributes that made that person iconic.
Mm-hmm.
So if I went to do an Elvis show in slacks and a pullover shirt with gray in my hair and no sideburns, well, that person has a right to not pay me because I'm not doing what they want. So social media and the web is a great way to weed out negativity in my business.
Mm. It's interesting to think about being a tribute artist or entertainer that is representing other people because the expectation is already there.
Right. Well, when you do shows for people at parties, you have to look and act and sound as much you can like that person. Now, if I do an acting job tomorrow and I need gray in my hair and no sideburns, but I have an Elvis show tonight, well, what am I going to do? I can't dye my hair because so I do an Elvis tribute in the restaurant dressed as me.
Mm.
And people know Gene's doing his 40 years. He's fun. All right, he doesn't look like it, but he's doing other things. So they can excuse the fact that I put on fake sideburns or I have short hair, because look, we're not Elvis Presley, we're not Marilyn Monroe. It's an illusion. But when you get a party or a wedding or something private and you're supposed to give that wow factor, you better have the jumpsuit. You better have blonde hair. Like you better, look like the character you're portraying.
What gives you the most satisfaction in your entertaining?
Applause. Repeat work.
From 14, right? Yeah.
Listen, there was nothing like getting people to applaud. It's one thing when your family applauds, but when you're in a room full of strangers, I play one restaurant that's a tourist attraction. So there's 100 people in the restaurant, maybe 20 of them know me, 80 of them are transient people that come and go. And when you get them to tip you or to book you for a party or to say, I'm coming back next month because you're great, that's the ultimate reward, is when you get a stranger to like what you do. That's the most rewarding factor in my life.
Gene, what would you like people as an entertainer to understand about your work, whether it's as doing what you do with specific people, singing or entertaining about their songs, or your scheduling? What would you like them to understand so they know, I mean, you're putting in a lot of hard work.
Well, what I'd like to say to parents is that performing is a job. So if your child at 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12 years old wants to be an entertainer, don't say to them, why can't you get a real job? Say to them, we're going to put you in this and see how you do. Mm-hmm. But we'd also like you to get an education or a trade because entertaining might not be as fruitful for many years. So you do need a back plan. A lot of people think entertaining is not real. It's not a real job. So for that's what I say to the parents. For the kids, well, yeah, to live your dream at any age is the most rewarding experience. They say when you love what you do for work, it's never work. But those are the choices you have to make in life early. That's why if you put your path in your teens and you put your future laid out, you could live your dream while having another job or career or learning 20 instruments and becoming a session musician or a working musician while you're doing it. There's always pros and cons to everything. But the pros are doing what you love for a living. So that's what I want to tell parents and kids
To have
is
them
that,
understand, yeah.
yeah, there's no right or wrong. Now, just because you love to sing doesn't mean you can sing. Just because you like to dance doesn't mean, so you got to go for lessons. And if you can't do it, you just can't do it. But at least you could say you tried. Because you don't want to be 60 and 70 and 80 years old sitting in front of a TV and saying, I should have done that. What would have happened if I did that? You know me, I never played guitar. Maybe I should have learned. I mean, I loved Elvis, but I just never had the attention span. But had I learned to play guitar, I might have been a great guitar player. I might have invented a song, created it. It just wasn't meant for me. But I think parents, in addition to telling their children about an education, they need to nurture their talents as well.
Knowing how busy you are, how do you stay motivated and productive? What
Well,
gets you going and keep
okay.
going?
Well, for one, like I said before, unfortunately, money makes the world go round. So I stay active because we all need money to survive. However, I stay active and I do different projects because I want to be famous, Brian. I want to walk down the street and have somebody say to me, I saw you on TV 2 weeks ago, or I saw you in a movie. I love that people say, hey, aren't you that guy that does Elvis? Yes, I did it. But I want people to know I have other talents. So I'm 54. I'm going to keep going until the good Lord tells me to stop. And hopefully between now and then, I will become famous because that would make me very happy. That's my motivation. Now, like I told you, if I hit lotto, I don't need to be rich because I'm rich, but I would still like to be famous. So I would do jobs for free and I would do more acting jobs and I would produce my own films and TV shows, to keep myself in the business.
Well, you're certainly young. 54 is young. No
Not
matter
as
how
young as you. Not
not,
as young as you.
not no matter how you slice it, 54 is young. What is your being up on stage or even maybe a computer, what is your favorite tool that you use in your entertainment business? So, I mean, it could be, I know you have many rings and replica rings, but what is one of the favorite tools that you have that you just couldn't do without, or it's meant a lot to you? I mean, it could have been your mom's broom handle, I'm not sure, but what is the tool that you use that it's part of the work that you do each day?
Well, when I do Elvis, of course, I like to wear the jewelry that Elvis was so famous for, the outfits. But I don't think anything I do has a physical tool that I need. I go out and do my regular show, and sometimes I wear a necklace, sometimes I don't. Sometimes I wear a ring, sometimes I don't. But I can't, I mean, voice is a tool.
Probably
so
the
if
voice.
I'm singing or acting, I need my voice.
Yeah.
But I don't think there's anything that I need every show to get that show over, to pull it off. I don't think I'm attached to anything that much that I say to myself, oh my God, I forgot it at home. I got to go back. No, if I'm doing a singing job, I have my music. Doing an acting job, I have my script. But other than that, there's no physical tool except my heart. If my heart is not in a project or a gig, I don't think I'll do it just because it pays. Which leads me to, I'm not a real actor because I don't do certain projects because they work on my mind more than an actor. When an actor goes into a role, he becomes that role. There are some scenarios that I just can't wrap my head around. And I go, no, that's not for me. And, I'm going to back off.
Yeah.
But other than that, I try to just make my heart my only tool for certain gigs, for certain jobs.
It's a great
Sounds
answer.
it
Yeah.
sounds corny.
No, it's not. I
Uh,
mean, it's one of the best answers I've heard. Your heart.
yeah, yeah,
Then you're able to use other tools because your heart's going
yeah.
in the right
I used
direction.
to do I did a song once in front of Elvis's background singers, and it's a song about a guy who's getting a divorce, but he stays with his wife because he has children. So this girl, her name was Myrna, she walked up to me and said, "Wow, you did that song so passionately. How many children do you have?" I said, "I don't have any children." She goes, "Then how can you do that song with such feelings?" I said, "I'm also not from the hills of Virginia, but I could sing a country song." So when you have that passion in you, you could sing a song that is not in your life, but you can relate because you could only imagine what that person feels if they had to leave their children.
Mm-hmm.
So what you do is you say, okay, I had a puppy, and when I had to leave the house, I felt so sad. Well, magnify that by 1,000 if you had to leave your children, and you try to channel feelings to put songs over, to put roles over, to put acting jobs over. That's the essence of being a good performer, no matter what it is putting over a song or a role when you have no relevancy to it.
You mentioned children. Thinking of children getting in, maybe they're in the attic practicing their songs, or even people on this roller coaster where maybe even COVID. What is, you mentioned something a moment ago, but a top tip for people getting into work or even switching their careers or even on
First,
a downturn? Yeah.
first of all, make sure it's something you could do. Uh, make sure it's something you study on. Make sure it's something you practice on. And then everything else will come naturally. Like I said, people love to sing, but that doesn't mean they can sing. Put a goal for yourself and say, and it's funny because I never put a goal. I'm going to do this for 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 9 months, 2 years. If I don't reach that goal, I'm going to revert back to what I know to support myself. So whether it's getting an education, learning a trade, learning a different career, give yourself a goal and or a time limit, because sometimes you just can't grasp and you can't learn at certain parts of your life, and you don't want to keep throwing stuff at a wall and nothing sticks. So, just have an open mind. I love to dance, but I have no rhythm. So do it, try it, and know if you can or cannot, and then accept the truth.
I think your goal from 14 till now has been amazing. Whether you feel that you're where you want to be, I mean, you've kept at it. And that's pretty amazing, regardless. For if you put that in any profession, from someone to say at 14, I wanted to do this thing, and then 40 years later, you're still doing that thing. That's amazing in and of itself.
Thank you. And I appreciate it. I agree. But you must have a strong support system, whether it's family, friends, spouses, partners. Without a strong support system, I don't know many performers that were an island and still were able to achieve success. They needed the help, the loving, the nurturing of their family and friends and partners and spouses. I've been blessed. I've been very blessed with a wonderful family, fabulous friends, a fan base that has given up their time and their love and their money, because when I perform, they got to spend money in order for the places to make money in order to pay me. So I've been very, very lucky, Brian. But like I said, if I hit lotto, I'm going to continue doing it. And everybody that came to see me in the past 40 years, I'm paying for your dinners. I'm paying from now on.
Speaking of entertainment, how do you keep that work-life balance? So separating yourself from work, how do you find enjoyment or your rest? What is it you do to balance that out? I mean, some people continue to work when they're resting, but how do you do it?
Well, like I said before, I don't rest because I'm constantly trying to get gigs and acting, and
Mm,
it is a social media. It is a full-time job getting the word out so where you could achieve success. Uh, I love listening to music. I love watching documentaries on TV. So I'll record 5 or 6 and then I'll binge watch for a day. But my phone, my email, I'm always on it. I'm always trying to get the next gig. I'm learning a new song once a week, or, this is my love. So I don't consider when I don't do it
hmm
relaxing. Uh, to me, I'll relax when the time is there. Uh, Nothing comes to you. No one's going to knock at your door and say, "Hey, I own 2 restaurants." No, you got to go out and get it. You got to create the work. You got to, push and push and push, which is why no grass ever grew under my feet. When the work was slow, I created it. So I was always out there doing gigs and doing shows, and maybe not a lot, but they were uh, specialized to where I was in the public eye.
Gene, I have several more questions I'd like to ask, but I appreciate your time and I don't want to take much time. So
Hmm.
maybe to close it out, can
No,
you
you go as long as you want, man.
you're all right?
Yeah.
I don't want to milk it for all it's worth, but I want to, because I think a lot of all the stuff you're saying is good. So I don't want to miss anything, but I don't want to keep you from doing anything
Oh
either.
no, I'm gonna ask my niece to bring me down some more water.
Okay.
I got no problem.
Well, then what is it you wish you would have known at 13 that you can tell someone now? I mean, you've touched on a few of these, as you said, like as you mentioned, but specifically, what is one thing that you wish you would have known? And maybe another question I have is for education, of how important education is, and something that you wish you would have known in your teens.
Well, when you say education, we could talk about schooling, and we could talk about learning the
Yep.
craft that you want to
Learning
go.
is singing or anything like
Right.
that. Yeah. Yeah.
So I wish I picked up a guitar and had the
Absolutely.
attention span. I wish I learned 3 or 4 instruments, because then when times were lean, I could have went out and been a piano player for somebody else. But I learned early in life to save. This
Thank
is
you for
my
the
beautiful,
water.
yeah, my beautiful niece Gina,
Thank you.
who's a school teacher now. 2 weeks ago, she got a job. Yay!
Congratulations.
Yes,
Yay for
uh,
teachers.
yes, yay for teachers, essential job. Uh, Education, no matter what form it is, whether
Yep.
you schooled or trade or performing,
Mhm.
is a necessity, because it'll always keep you going. And had I learned music at an early age, I listen, Brian, there were lean times, trust me. Let's not call, my life was not all rainbows and cookies. There were times where I went without a gig for weeks and weeks, and I
Mhm.
went and got regular jobs to
Yeah.
to survive. I always had jobs or
Mhm.
businesses, uh, but I wish I would have learned instruments to stay on that path. Uh, I think it's very important, like I said before, with parents teaching their kids, thank you, uh, to do what they love, but to have a plan, a
Mhm.
fallback. A
Mhm.
fallback should have been the word before.
Mhm.
Because as we saw it in this world right now, you could be a banker and now you're out of work. You
Yeah.
could be a mechanic, now you're out of work. You could be a restaurant worker and now you're out of work. So if you had a second knowledge,
Mhm.
or third knowledge, you can maybe fall back on that to get you through these past 6 months, where a guy like me, I sat back and worried since March. What am I going to do? where's the next chapter of my life? Uh, I thought I was going to sing in nursing homes and hospitals during the week for the rest of my life, and on weekends do my gigs in restaurants and casinos and get little acting jobs. Well, now I'm faced with a reality where I might never go back into those nursing homes or hospitals because of COVID.
Yeah.
So what do I have to do? Well, I got to get more acting jobs, or I have to learn something else to keep myself going, or move forward with what I do know is going to be there and go 10 fingers deep.
Go get it.
Yeah, go get it. Go get it. I mean, it's a crazy world right now. But I think
Great
it's also,
advice.
yeah, I think this time of pandemic, I think people woke up when they are in certain careers and they said, wow. And I know many people that became real estate agents and truck drivers and other careers, which were totally opposite of what they wanted to do, because they said, once this goes open, I want to get into a career that's essential and that I know cannot be hindered, such as real estate, such as banking, such as truck driving. These are jobs that will always be there. Healthcare. My field, it's uncertain.
Yeah, entertainment is it's tricky.
It's tricky, very tricky. Uh, Hopefully, like I said, I hit lotto. Not a lot, 200 million. I'll be fine. I'll be happy. Uh, but whatever it is. Whatever cards I'm dealt, I'm gonna go forward. And as long as my wife supports me in my decisions, because that's what you want. You want a happy home life, because you don't want to do anything to upset the people you live with, because then it's just not a happy life if you can't agree on things.
Well, if we can generalize it, I found, or I'm finding with COVID, there's two mindsets of people. People that take the victim of, oh, this is happening to me, life is over. And I understand there's probably more circumstances in their life that leads to that way of thinking. But then there's the other people who say, I'm going to take advantage of this situation. I'm going to learn something else. I'm going to do something different. And I'm going to come out of 2020 better than I was going into it. And I think by you saying these things that you have coming up, the plans you have, you're of the latter.
I am of the latter. And there's a third group, Brian. There's a third group of people that said, I'm going to sit and wallow in my house. I'm going to live off the unemployment I get.
Yeah, there is that.
For me, I was lucky to get minute unemployment.
Mm-hmm.
I want to go back to work. I made a very good living at what I did. My taxes were paid, which is why I was able to collect. But I don't want to sit home and collect. I want to go back to work. I want to earn my keep. It's what makes me happy. As I said before, if I hit lotto and I would still do it for free. I have never been so depressed in a lot of years. Like I said, I was depressed when my father passed away, but that was part of life. This pandemic and this COVID was not written in our lives.
No.
So this took us all by surprise, and death is a part of life. You can love your parents, love it, but we are all going to pass on at one time or another. So you have to deal with that as best as you can, but you should prepare for it. But this, we were totally unprepared. Never thought the economy would get shut down. Of course, I'm in New York. I'm only 6 miles from the epicenter of New Rochelle, where this all started in New York. So we were hit blindsided with no warning.
Yeah, where I am in Daegu, it was the first major city kind of hit outside of China. And it's still having its effects. As a teacher, I'm not going to school.
Wow.
We're doing things online. As you mentioned about your father, my mom passed away this February just as COVID was hitting, not
Mm,
from COVID, but from
my
cancer.
condolences.
And
Sure.
she loved Neil Diamond. That
Ah,
was her favorite. I mean, if I mean now I'm gonna think, but if I would have met you then to introduce you to my mom, like I can just imagine the night. I remember the nights that she would just, we had an old record player that we'd have, and she would just crank it up and
ah,
enjoy the night, and it was just a wonderful thing. So I've done this out of kind of memory to my mom, and not to boast myself, but just to say that, you know, when things happen, we have a choice. We can wallow in them, or we can do something different. And I think a testament to you is that you're working and you're looking forward. And yeah, maybe you could get some money if you want and take it, but you're looking to work. And that's what this is about, and that's what I appreciate about you.
100%. Like I said, of course, we all wish we had lotto, but I would still do what I did for free. You know, times was simpler back in the uh, early days of humanity, because if I was a singer and you had a beef, or you had a cow farm, you'd say to me, Gene, come to my house and sing for the night, and I'm going to give you 40 pounds of meat. It was the barter system.
Yeah.
And everybody was harmonious. And, you know, you had what you had, I had what I had. But today, money, uh, you know, it's an old saying, money is the root of all evil. And there is some legitimacy in that, because you do need to make as much as you can in the time you're allotted in order to live the expectancy of what's going to be. You
that
know,
that is a saying, but it's from where I think it originates. It says it's the love of money.
love of money,
The
yes.
love of money is the root of evil, and that is the problem. So buying the things and doing the stuff is not the major problem, but when it becomes your sole drive in life and it dominates you, the love
Right,
of it, that making an idol out of it, is when it becomes the major problem.
right. You know, I have a famous saying, there are three kinds of steak. There's chuck, sirloin, and porterhouse. If you have a great life and a great education and a great job, you're going to afford the porterhouse. You're still going to get steak if you have a low paying job. It won't be the best grade. Same goes for clothing and cars and houses
Mm-hmm.
and life in general. So, what you want out of life is the career and schooling you need to make a choice early on. And, you know, that that could set you up for the next 60 years
Yeah.
of your life.
It gives you that ability to have a choice.
Right, right. Everybody could afford steak, whether it's hamburger meat. What you want out of life is what you put into it, whether it's education or work-wise. Uh, you do the due diligence, you do the work, and the rewards will come. And
Gene DiNapoli, I know you said in terms of entertainment, you have no regrets. But I'm wondering, what is a mistake or one of the biggest mistakes you've had that you've learned from? You don't have to divulge the mistake. I had one interesting one the other day, and then I someone informed me of theirs, and it reminded me of my own. But something that, it was a mistake in life, but it was something you learn from, because there's people, as you said, who dwell on things, so they're just living in the past of that mistake or something that happened to them, or however life has kind of thrown them a curveball. What is something that you have learned from, which was a mistake of your own?
well, I don't learn from my mistakes, unfortunately. Uh,
We're reminded that we did it before.
yeah, but I'm very fortunate that most of my mistakes were monetarily,
Mm.
which you could always make money in the future. Like my wife said, we'll always make more money. I made a mistake with a house. I should have never done construction on it.
Mm.
I wound up losing the house. It collapsed on me. The bank didn't give me the loan I needed, so I wound up losing hundreds of thousands of dollars. I was very depressed. My wife said, it's only money, we'll make more. So in terms of
So you're
economic,
you're your hardest critic then. If your wife is sitting in the corner saying, "It's all right, dear, we can make more money," you're your hardest critic.
I'm my hardest critic. And I feel for those around me who suffered because of my bad decisions.
Mhm.
I don't feel for myself because I made that decision. Now, like I said, money could always be made. I've made some decisions where my heart has gotten broken. I'm not talking about love.
Yep.
I'm talking about trusting in human beings where I should have listened to other people or I should have learned from my past experiences. And I didn't, because I give people the benefit of the doubt. And I say, how could they do this to me? Or how could they do this to me again?
Mm.
So, you know, it's a sad world when you get taken advantage of. It's an even sadder world when you allow it to happen again by the same group of people. And I've made that mistake, but I've learned, maybe late in life, but I've learned. So, as I said at the top of this interview, there's no such thing as a bad experience if you learn from it. So, that's what I've learned.
And even if someone's taking advantage of us, it's still you want to, like a T-ball or just toss it up to them in the hope that they'll, treat you right or do you good. Like that's the hope, even if you knew they did something bad, just, okay, I want to trust you because you're looking for the good in them. You're looking for, whether it's an opportunity, you hope that it works out. And unfortunately, it doesn't always work that way.
It doesn't always work out. And, there have been times in my life where I've owed people money and, I haven't seen, and then out of the clear blue, I go to them and I give them money. And they go, well, I haven't heard from you in 3 months. I thought you forgot about me. I never forgot about you.
No.
I just make a certain amount. I had to live, and so you got to keep your self-respect as well, and you do what you can. But self-respect of a person is more than self-respect of paying back. You want to find the good in people because you want people to find the good in you. We all make mistakes. That doesn't mean we're going to make it tomorrow. Maybe we learned. Maybe that next day is the day that person is going to do you right. But, unfortunately, 9 times out of 10, it reverts back to the originality of the problem.
Gene, near closing, is there anything else that you would, especially for my listeners of work, people, especially now going through a whole slew of problems with their work, or some people are lucky that they skin right through and they're not even scathed, but maybe they don't enjoy their work. They're disgruntled about their work, or people getting into work. Do you have any advice or some words of encouragement for where people are now and looking forward in their work?
Okay. So my answer is twofold. I'm going to give you my answer as a non-parent and then as a parent, which I am not, but this is how I perceive it. As a non-parent, I feel if I was not happy in whatever job I had, I would quit and go into what I love. And that would make me happy. As a parent, I believe when you are not happy in your work, you should look at those who you are raising. And that might give you the strength to continue what you're doing, even if you're not happy, to know that you're making somebody else happy.
Yeah, providing for them.
Providing, right. You cannot feed a family of 6 on a minimum wage job. So if you feel you're going to have 4 kids and a spouse, well, then you better get a good job or a trade and make as much as you can. But if you're going to be a single person and this menial paying job, not menial job, no job is menial.
Absolutely, I agree.
Please, you know what, Brian? I get in trouble all the time because of my big mouth. So I have to say, there is no menial job.
You don't have a
However,
big mouth. You're from New
there are
York.
low-paying jobs. So if you're going to go into a low-paying job with no chance for financial growth, choose your path wisely.
Yeah.
So you don't become a person behind the eight ball. You don't become indebted to credit card, family. That choose your path wisely. And then when you go to sleep at night, you could rest your head on the pillow, both eyes closed, and say, I'm doing my best and I'm happy. And that's the key to life, is to be happy.
I was listening to a gentleman, and he was giving advice on marriage, and he's like, well, people always come up to him asking, who should I marry? He goes, well, there's standards depending on your faith and stuff, but there's standards and if you find people are within the standards of who you want to marry, you're going to probably have a bunch of people to pick from. Then just pick. So the same goes with a job. So if you have some skills, some talents, some things that you're able to do, based on what you're saying, with parents who guided you to just to have a little bit more education rather than that one track mind, then you have this wider track to pick from, and then just pick. Like a wife or your husband, you can pick who it is that you want based on the guidelines that you have set before you. Same with
Right.
the job. You have those skills, then you have that a little bit freer room, as we said earlier, to choose.
Right. Like I said before, I always get into trouble with my mouth because I feel I say what's on my mind and I say what's in my heart. Don't become a garbage man if you don't like the smell of garbage. Don't become a doctor if you don't like the sight of blood.
Yeah.
Don't become a mechanic if you don't like the feel of oil.
Yeah.
Right. There are people out there that choose professions because they're either forced into it or they want to do the city job for 20 years and sit on their ass. Well, that's fine. But if you're going to do something you don't like, don't complain, because there are literally millions of jobs for every walk of life in every economic standing.
Mm-hmm.
Now, are some jobs harder to get? Yes. So go to school or go take a trade and do your job and become the best that you can in that field. But don't complain, because when you come home for a job and you complain, you're bringing everybody else in your life down. And you don't have to say it. They can see it. They can feel it. They can sense it.
Cloud looming over.
Right. And that goes back to what we spoke about. When you're happy, you never work a day in your life. And all I could say is, if your father was a doctor and you become a doctor because of your mother or father, you hate blood, shame on you. If you become a garbage person because and you don't like the smell of garbage, shame on you.
Yeah.
Stop, just don't complain. That's my philosophy. I'm not a philosopher.
That's good though. I like it.
That's just my little take on life.
Yeah.
Just be happy in what you do. You do you. My newest saying for the past couple of years is, you do you. I'll do me, you do you, and hopefully we get together and we have fun. But I don't want to hear your woes. You don't want to hear my woes.
Well, Gene DiNapoli, you are doing you. How can we say it? Not the busiest man, the most consistent man in show business.
Wow. Thank you very much. Thank you.
How can they reach you with your consistency and your busy work?
Well, I'm all over social media, Facebook and Instagram, and my website, which is GeneDiNapoli.com. All my shows are on there, all my acting. I'm also an ordained minister now, so I can marry people either as Gene or as Elvis. I come in the Elvis outfit. So all my career is on the web, social media, Instagram, Gene DiNapoli, Facebook, Gene DiNapoli. And I love if people see this, if they want to talk to me, send me a message. Hey, I'm an open book. I'd love to talk to people of all walks of life. Listen, I'm not going to sugarcoat it and tell you I was this way all my life. I've matured. I've grown as a person. But like I said, I never hurt anybody. It was my own feelings in life that hurt myself. There were situations where I would avoid because it made me uncomfortable, but yet the only person I made uncomfortable was myself. Mm-hmm. So I've definitely matured as a person, definitely over the past 20 years since I'm married. So I like to talk to everybody. So if anybody would like to reach out to me and talk about a project, or if I could help anybody get through whatever they're feeling with anything I said tonight, I'd be more than happy to speak to somebody. And just like I'm not a psychiatrist, I'm not a psychologist, I'm an everyday guy who's lived life ups and downs. So if my little advice could help, well, then it was worth being on this show, not only to meet you, but to give somebody a little inspiration.
I think everyone should know Gene DiNapoli. Sir, I have one final question.
Sure.
Why do you work?
Self-respect, self-worth, and self-perseverance. Because this is what gives us purpose. Whether it's building a house, singing, being a doctor, being a parent, that's work. At the end of the day, when you do something positive, whether it's raising a child, teaching a child, building a house, whatever it is, it gives you a sense of purpose. And I think that's what makes the world a happier place, to have a sense of purpose.
It's a great message of purpose. A lot of people think they don't have a purpose.
Everybody has a purpose. I had a friend of mine who just recently lost his life. And he had a hit song. And he used to come to my house and say, Gene, how can you sustain a career without having a hit record? What's your advice? And I said, why would you ask me my advice? You had a hit song. And you know what he said to me? Everybody's advice is worth something. Everybody's job, whether it's a paying job or being a parent and doing it, every job is essential to somebody.
Gene DiNapoli, you've been a great guest. You are a wise man, and you have a good purpose as well. And I do hope that one day you'll be as famous as you want to be.
Thank you. And this was really a pleasure because I got to speak about life's issues and not just career. And I want to thank you, Brian. And maybe one day down the line, you would do me the honor of being a guest on my podcast.
Absolutely.
On Monday nights. Can I say that?
Yeah, no, plug it. Plug. Yeah, that's what I meant how they reach you. Plug whatever you want.
Yeah. GeneDiNapoli.com. Monday nights on Facebook and YouTube. Reminiscing with Gene DiNapoli. We have guests from all sorts of entertainment, acting, singing, movies, sports figures. We got a lot of great guests coming up. So check us out on Facebook every Monday night, 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. GeneDiNapoli.com. Send me an email. Love to hear from everybody.
Thank you, sir. Gene DiNapoli, everyone.
And hopefully one day I get to South Korea or you get to the Bronx, New York, and we can meet each other's families and have a dinner together.
My dear wife just said today, I said, I'm going to interview Gene DiNapoli from New York. Oh, I want to go to New York.
Well, you must let me have the honor of taking you and your wife and your 2 kids out for the best New York pizza.
I'm in. Sign me up, sir.
You got it.
Gene DiNapoli, everyone. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. Stay well and God bless. Stay safe, everybody.